You know that feeling when you buy a piece of plug-and-play tech and the setup process just makes you want to throw the entire system out the window? Well, you'll want to stick around for this one. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Phil Hinton and today we're tackling a fascinating and frankly frustrating piece of kit. We're looking at the LG Sound Suite. Specifically, we're testing the full-on system setup that they call the Immersive Quad Suite 7 Pro. Our reviews are also never sponsored by the manufacturer, so you can trust the results and opinions from our testing and our unbiased and independent review process. Hopefully that allows you to make a more informed buying decision. And don't forget, you can also read the full-on review at AVForums. The system I'm testing here is the LG H7 soundbar, 4 M7 speakers and the W7 subwoofer, which all combine to give you a whopping 13.1.7 layout. And that number alone is enough to get any home cinema fan excited. But before we get into the fireworks, let's talk about the real star of the show here, and that's the Dolby Atmos FlexConnect, or DAFC. So, what exactly is Dolby FlexConnect? Well, it's a clever bit of digital signal processing, or DSP, that allows for genuinely flexible speaker placement. Now, we all know that to get true immersive Dolby Atmos in a big home theatre, well, it requires military-grade precision where you place your speakers in that layout. With FlexConnect, as the name would suggest, you can shove a speaker in any position where it can be seen and heard, and the system then works out where those speakers are located and sets up the entire system. The DSP engine ensures that the Dolby Atmos effects, well, they land precisely where they should be in the sound field, regardless of your room's inherent awkwardness and layout. The beauty is that it's a modular design, so you can start really small with just perhaps an LG TV like the C5, G5, C6, G6 and a couple of M7 speakers and build your system over time as your budget allows. Now, the system works on control points like those aforementioned TVs, or you can also use the H7 soundbar, which also acts as a control unit, and that's what we did on this occasion here. And it houses the high-powered Alpha 11 Gen 3 processor, and yep, that is the same one that's in the C6 and G6 TVs this year, and that's there just to run the Dolby Atmos FlexConnect system. The H7 itself is a 9.1.6 soundbar with 8 full-range peerless drivers, plus dedicated up-firing and side-firing units. The M7 speakers are 2.1.1 units with 100 watts of power each, and those feature up-firing drivers for height effects. They're stylish, good-looking, and they even include touch controls and subtle customisable LED lighting. Everything connects wirelessly to the speakers, and it supports Bluetooth 5.4, AirPlay 2, Spotify and Tidal Connect, and Google Cast. And it's really all the tech that you need, but this is where sometimes the fun stops and the hair pulling begins. Now, we're technically minded people, right? We enjoy a challenge, but getting these components online and talking to each other, well, to put it mildly, it was incredibly frustrating in the time that I spent with it. And I spent hours trying to get the LG Sound Suite working with 2 different LG OLED TVs. Now, I tried adding the speakers one at a time, running the calibration process repeatedly, and it was failure after failure. In the end, I eventually just gave up with the TV route because I could get to the calibration stage and then it just would not go any further. And that was the case with 2 TVs that I tried. So I fed that back to LG so they could have a look into the issues and why I was having those problems. And then I moved over to the H7 soundbar, and that just wasn't any better. I just couldn't get it to join my network, and in the end I had to dig into the router settings, separate channels out and manually nurse the H7 onto my Wi-Fi network. Now, just imagine somebody who's not technically minded and a mass market consumer who's bought this system and just wants something that's plug and play. Well, they won't know how to adjust router channels, they won't know what to do, they'll get confused, and I genuinely worry that as it stands, as this product stands at the time of this review, people are just going to return this because they're not technically minded and they don't want all the hassle of trying to set it up, because at the moment it's just not user intuitive. Now, LG has been watching and listening to early reviewer feedback, and my written review was published a few weeks ago, and they have issued some software updates since that review was published, and those issues were highlighted. And I expect them to fix the initial issues that I've experienced, but as I've tested here at the time of this review, this is still not a plug and play or intuitive system. So once I finally got the full sound suite running with the H7 soundbar, 4 M7 speakers and the W7 subwoofer, and I successfully run the calibration on those, I did spend a few weeks living with this system. And when it works, it's really impressive. With high quality audio sources and proper Dolby Atmos soundtracks from 4K UHD Blu-ray discs, this system is genuinely immersive. You can really feel the scale that LG is aiming for with the system like this. Action sequences are where this 13.1.7 layout really thrives. Now we're talking about powerful bass, bullet ricochets, effects placed exactly where they should be in the soundstage, and this really does compete in terms of envelopment with some of the much larger fixed home cinema systems that I've used and do use to this day. The clarity of dialogue with normal TV content was also excellent, feeling weighty and realistic. But this is where we hit the Jekyll and Hyde nature of this system's tuning. This system, well, it has that party trick, which is aggression. When it needs to be aggressive, when it calls for it, when it's a sound mix with explosions and gunfire, then it's all in. It sounds great. But where the content gets quieter, more subtle, or it demands some warmth and finesse, then the LG Sound Suite really struggles to change its tone. It sounds harsh, clinical, and it really lacks that necessary mid-range warmth and subtlety that some soundtracks really do need. It just feels unbalanced and overly processed, like it's wearing size 12 boots when it walks into a quiet room. If this whole system was a 5-course meal, then the W7 subwoofer, well, it would be the soggy dessert. It's without doubt the weakest link here. The W7 is an 8-inch, 220 watt wireless subwoofer, and on paper, that's fine. In practice, well, it delivers a boomy, ponderous, and really tuneless performance. Bass kicks, well, they feel deep, but they are also bloated and slow, and certainly not musical. Where the best subwoofers are fast and agile, the W7 is a one-note wonder, and it stands out like a sore thumb instead of underpinning the sound mix subtly. It pushes the low-end frequencies so hard that it really creates a noticeable gap between the bass and the high frequencies. The mid-range performance, well, it loses some of its finer detail in the process. And in fact, I found that removing the W7 subwoofer from the system, it actually tightened up the bass and partially fixed that mid-range gap problem that I was having. And that tells you everything you need to know. The H7 soundbar and the M7 speakers, when used on their own for music, actually sound pretty decent with good instrument separation. The components, well, they're capable, but the DSP tuning, especially with that subwoofer, well, it's just not quite right. LG needs to dial in some subtlety and warmth to unlock the full potential of this system, especially for those quieter, more emotional scenes. And I do know that LG will be looking to improve the performance of Sound Suite. They're one of the most proactive manufacturers out there when it comes to listening to feedback from reviewers and consumers, and they're always looking to improve the performance. If they do introduce more updates that cover the issues that I've covered in this review as the system stands, then I'll certainly take another look and reassess my findings. So let's wrap this up. The LG Sound Suite with Dolby Atmos FlexConnect has a genuine, exciting promise. The Dolby Atmos FlexConnect technology is utterly brilliant, allowing for superb immersion and effect steering in a flexible modular package. It has bags of potential. You get a real taste of what immersive audio should be, even in a living room where you can't get the layout perfect. However, the issues that I encountered during this review, well, they outweigh the performance that's on offer at this moment in time. The connectivity woes are frustrating and really time consuming, and the audio performance is still a bit of a mixed bag, lacking the warmth and mid-range expression needed for anything outside of an action movie climax. And when you factor in the sheer cost of this system, which is over £3,000 for the system I tested here, well, at this moment in time, I just really can't recommend the LG Sound Suite as it currently performs. If you are tempted by the speakers, I would avoid the W7 subwoofer at all costs. I truly hope that LG does work on the connectivity and the setup process, as well as having a look at the DSP tuning, because once sorted this could be a fully endorsed solution. But for now, it's a promising system that needs some fine tuning to allow it to achieve its full potential. Now, thank you very much for watching. If you found this review helpful, then please hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps us bring you more independent reviews just like this. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you a Sound Suite owner? What's your experience been like? Or does Dolby Atmos FlexConnect sound promising to you? Is it something you want to know more about? Let us know. You can also join one of the largest AV and hi-fi communities at AVForums, where hundreds of thousands of like-minded tech enthusiasts just like you discuss AV systems, TVs, projectors, 2-channel hi-fi, and so much more. That's at avforums.com. I'm Phil Hinton, thank you very much for watching and supporting our channel, and I'll see you on the forums and in the next video. Cheers!